The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
But let's go over to the other one because you've got Michigan and Washington now over in the other game in the Sugar Bowl, Washington winning it to now go against Michigan in the national championship. But Washington beating Texas. And if you didn't look at if you didn't watch the game and you're just looking at the score, you're looking at stats, it looks like Washington squeezed out. Even if you just pay attention to, hey, there was a last drive that almost forced possible overtime or Texas winning it. So, I mean, if you look at just the paper and you didn't watch the game, it doesn't seem like Washington really won this game too confidently. But there really wasn't a moment in the game where it felt like, oh, Texas is coming back. Texas is going to do it. Other than that last drive, you really didn't feel that the whole way through. It just felt like Washington could have won this game by 50 if they really wanted to. I mean, they ran the ball a lot. They controlled the ball, and they just did what they had to do. And I don't feel like it was. I think that was just part of their game plan. Hey, we don't need to win by 20 points. We don't need to win by 10 points. We just need to win by 1. And that was their mentality coming into it. They ended up winning 37-31. But Michael Penix Jr. proves why he should have been the Heisman winner. And I think that's evident in this game. He had like 430 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if you watch his throws, so I think there was only one throw that I can remember. And I know it's been a couple of days, so maybe I'm just forgetting a couple of them that were like, ooh, he got away with one. But there was only one throw that I thought, ooh, that wasn't very good. And it was really like, that it wasn't a very good pass, but it was also a pass that was kind of away from a defender. So I understood why he threw it where he threw it. So every throw that he makes, man, he's just got a cannon, and he doesn't put any effort into his throws. It just looks like he's just throwing it as if I would toss a paper into a trash can. That's what it looks like for him and his effort throwing the ball. I wonder what it would look like if he actually put effort into throwing it and trying to launch it, because I don't think the stadium would be able to hold the ball. I don't know. This dude is absolutely phenomenal. Possibly the best quarterback play in a single game that I may have seen since Oklahoma, Texas Tech, back when Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes were going at it. And I was going to say ever, but then I remembered that game. So, I mean, just these two quarterbacks both playing a very good game. Again, another one where if you look at just the stats, Quinn Ewers didn't have the greatest percentage, so you're thinking, he didn't have a good game. I don't think he had a bad game. I think the defense really shut him down. The defense was playing very tight coverage the whole way through. Texas had some dropped passes quite a bit in there. And so just overall, this was an amazing quarterback play. But let's start off with Washington, and again, kind of go in the same order, why Washington won the game. And I'll let you kind of start us off with this, but why do you think Washington was able to pull out the W?
The reason why Washington was able to pull out the W is more heart and just being able to play and just the style of how they do it. Like, first things first, obviously going off of what you just said a little bit about Michael Penix Jr., if I were to try and throw just a quarter of how he throws, I guarantee you my shoulder would be thrown out of socket. But literally, Michael Penix Jr. makes it literally look so effortless to throw a 65-yard plus bomb on a dime. And it doesn't even need to be a 65-yard bomb. It can just literally be a 10, 15-yard post route or a quick slant route, and it just literally looks like it's nothing. And there was a lot of throws that – I shouldn't say a lot. There was a few at least that I saw – and with how tight that Texas's defense was covering the wide receivers, I thought that a couple of the throws along the sideline, I'm thinking he shouldn't have thrown that, because I was thinking that, it could easily get picked off or it could easily get batted out of the air for an incomplete pass. It literally looked like some of the passes that he was throwing along the sidelines to his wide receivers, it literally looked like it maybe missed the defender's shoulder by maybe about 2 inches. And it still just falls right into the breadbasket. I sincerely don't know how you can do that. It just goes to show you how much practice and time that they put in for just being able to throw on that kind of a shot. But for the overall perspective for why Washington won, like I said, it was hard. I know like you said, they didn't need to win by 20. They easily could have, or way more than 20.
It feels like they could have.
Oh, easily. And I mean, it just seemed like that Washington was just easily controlling the game for both on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. Their middle linebackers, they were definitely reading the reads right. They were following their blocks, and they weren't afraid to stick their nose into something. And overall, for Washington, it was definitely a situation to where you look, okay, you see Texas, they just ran down the field and just scored a touchdown. We're down by 7. A lot of teams you can easily see in that kind of a situation, they'll tend to get nervous and they start making little mental errors and mental mistakes. Then they can easily throw a pick or fumble the ball or whatever the situation is. No, Washington, they didn't even look at that aspect. They just kept sticking to their game plan, and they just wanted to overall ball out and play for a national championship. So my big thing is, like I said, it's the heart of Washington that truly won this game, and it really goes to show you how much that they wanted. But my thing is, going into the national championship against Michigan, I sincerely don't think that you see that same aspect like you just played against Texas. I think this is that moment in time for a championship, obviously on the line, that you have to go all above, not just put the cruise on the gas pedal and just try and squeeze by. This is definitely a time to where you have to just put your foot to the floor and just lay everything out on the line for that national championship.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think they had more heart. I think, obviously, like I said too, I think just Michael Penix was just a game changer in this game.
Absolutely.
One thing that really both teams on defense did really well on was just overall third down efficiency. The defense was able to hold them out a lot. I think Washington went 3 of 11 and Texas went 4 of 11 on third downs. So I mean, just that alone, that just shows how tough that defense was. You can't get yourself into a third down situation, but a lot of that was certain third downs that was just too long, or there was a lot of them too where I thought Washington might go for it on fourth down, and they didn't. And I think they were just kind of playing smart, playing to win. And again, I think that just plays into their game plan. But just overall, Washington was just lighting them up, and they mixed in the run really well. They didn't run the ball a ton. I think they only had just over 100 yards of rushing, but they were able to mix in that run just enough to keep that passing game open. And Texas could not stop Michael Penix and these. I mean, how do you? We were talking about this. They've got 4 solid receivers out there. I mean, especially when you talk about McMillan and Roma Dunze, and you can use Dylan Johnson out of the backfield, and then of course you've got Culp in there as your tight end. I mean, just they've got weapons all around. And then Michael Penix he's shown you too that he can use his legs, and he used his legs a few times in this game. So I mean, just looking at him. I don't know what you're supposed to do to slow down this Washington offense, and that's one thing I think looking forward, you're gonna have a really hard time because, I mean, when Michael Penix runs, I'm pretty sure he only ran 3 plays, but he had over 30 yards. So I mean, just thinking about what he can do, and that's something that he's kept close to his chest all year long. But teams, especially when you talk about Michigan going into the national championship, you've got to have that in your head a little bit. But on top of that, just looking overall, Michael Penix has only been sacked 11 times all season long.
Man.
11 times all season long. I saw a stat, or I heard of a stat, and I don't know if it's completely true, but I heard that Michael Penix has been sacked less in his entire career, which I'm pretty sure he's either a 5th or 6th year senior right now, at least 5th. And so with Michael Penix has been sacked less in his entire year than Caleb Williams was this past season alone. That's just crazy to me. And it's all because look at the pressure that Texas had. And I think this is why Washington won, was because Michael Penix was obviously the difference maker, but it's because they would not allow a sack, and Michael Penix would not allow a sack. Texas got a bunch of pressure back to him, but you see him slip up in the pocket and make the throw, or they're right in his face, and he flips the ball out, like I said, with no effort at all, and makes the play. It's just incredible. But jumping over to Texas, I think Texas lost A little bit, of course, I think just the fact that you couldn't stop their offense, I guess that's kind of the big reason. But ultimately, I feel like it was just all penalties. They had, I think, 66 yards, if I remember right, 66 yards of
Close
penalties.
to 70.
Yeah, I mean, just terrible, terrible. And they were getting called for really dumb penalties that you've got to have just a better sense, upon you to know. And you have got to win that. And of course, I think the turnovers play into it too. They lost the turnover battle, and so I mean, just looking at Texas overall, they didn't control any aspect of the game. Time of possession went to Washington by, I know it was over 10 minutes over to Washington. So I mean, just I think Texas, they've got to be more mentally prepared than they were in this game, and I just don't think they had it. But what about you? What do you think Texas? How do you think Texas lost this game?
You said it, and I was just going to list that exact same thing off was penalties. And just if you get yourself into penalty trouble, which I've said to everybody in the past, it's so hard to get out of that rhythm. And to me, it just seemed like their offense at times it seemed like they're here for the game winning drive, and at other times it just seems like their offense is just out there for another series and just to go 3-and-out and just punt the ball away to Washington. Now, I will give Texas some credit. At closer towards the end of the game, obviously, they had the big plays going down the end zone. Then I can't remember the wide receiver. I think it's Williams who caught the corner pass to where it looked like he jumped too early. And me and your dad were obviously saying he jumped way too early. Then all of a sudden he went up and high pointed and caught it like it was nothing. I'm like, wow, that was truly unbelievable. But at the same time, it's cool to see. It's cool to see plays like that. But you look at the play prior to that one, and he was expecting, or at least he was thinking, that he was going to get the ball on that play. Then he turned right to the Texas sideline and said, "Come on, give me a chance." And the next play, obviously, like I said, he goes up high points and gets a touchdown for Texas. But my thing is, if you have one player that just obviously wants the ball, it's great, but you need to have a whole team that wants that same mentality and get the ball in your hands and try and put the ball into the end zone. Now, and obviously their offense for Texas, they did a fairly okay job, but of course when it came to the time to where you see Michael Penix Jr. roll out and use his legs, you couldn't stop him. And it was definitely something to where Texas, I do give you guys some credit, but you just simply got outplayed by Washington, and now we obviously see them going for a national championship, and this is definitely going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be really fun. Yeah, and I think you're thinking of. Now I'm drawing a blank. Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah,
Was the
Adonai
receiver.
Mitchell, not Williams.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah, because he kind of threw his little fit and got exactly what he wanted. And I think he might have been the one that they tried going to there at the end of the game too, to try to give him the ball, and just couldn't quite get it to him. And just an outstanding play by the defender there too, and swatting the ball away, perfect timing, knowing your role and knowing that the ball is probably coming towards the guy that you're covering because they're going to give their playmakers the ball. Your guy has a high chance if you're guarding Adonai Mitchell. Be ready, and there's only 1 second left on the clock.